Number 1. Lisa and Nick Massey were two big names in the social scene of downtown Vancouver when they inexplicably vanished into thin air. Nick had recently retired from his position as an account director at the Bank of Montreal, and Lisa had previously worked as a hairdresser. When they were missing from the nightlife on Howe Street, the couple were often found traveling the world. But behind the facade of the perfect life, a strange but true mystery was building. In 1994, people noticed a strange change in their behavior. And at the start of the year, Nick had retired from work, and the two had recently set up a bank account containing $50,000 in stocks. Stranger still, the two had randomly visited the Cayman Islands, and it was later revealed that the two had made wills. This behavior was noted as odd by their friends and family. As before, the two had lived comfortably and carefree, whereas now they were paranoid and prepping for the future, as they had never done before. All of these bizarre incidents led to one night, August 10th of 1994. On August 10th, Lisa and Nick told friends and family that they had a business meeting with an unknown man at Nick's favorite restaurant, Trader Vic's. According to staff, both were missing at the time of reservations, and nobody called to cancel the table. Investigators discovered that this business meeting had apparently been set up by Nick to meet with an investor in regards to a $10 million business deal. The missing person or persons who were supposed to be meeting with the Masseys that evening have never been identified. On August 11th, Lisa called her boss and a friend and told them that the two would be disappearing for a few days. Nick called his daughter, who was living in the Netherlands, and told her that he wouldn't be able to call her on her birthday, which was in a few days. This was the last time that Lisa and Nick Massey were ever found in good health before they went missing. When a week went by with no contact, the circumstances of their mysterious disappearance were reported to the RCMP, who found that their passports were still inside their home and that 2 zip ties had been placed at the entrance of the home. The 2 missing people were never found, despite numerous searches of the area. Strangest of all about this unsolved mystery is that nothing in the home had been disturbed. In 2014, Nick's son hired a private investigator who uncovered a secret bank account in the Cayman Islands that contained $100,000. There have been a few updates since this discovery, and Nick's children believe that he may be living a new life in the Cayman Islands under a new name or an assumed identity. Some theories suggest that the two have purposefully disappeared under a witness protection program. However, this has never been confirmed. Lisa Massey is described as an Asian female with black hair and brown eyes, 5'6" and 130 pounds. She speaks English and Mandarin. Nick Massey is described as a white male with graying blonde hair, blue eyes, 5'7" and 160 pounds. Nick speaks English and Dutch. Anyone with information. Number 2. The mysterious disappearance of 71-year-old Hugh Pham and 67-year-old Hugh Tran came after a lifetime of hardships. The two had fled Vietnam in 1973 amid the Vietnam conflict on a container ship with no food and little water. In the face of adversity, Pham and Tran stood tall after arriving in the U.S. and raised a family. In 2005, their now adult children purchased tickets for a Caribbean cruise for Mother's Day. The two were accompanied by their daughter and granddaughter, and the week-long cruise set sail in May of 2005. On May 12th, Michael Pham, the son of Pham and Tran, received the worst call of his life. On the other end of the phone was his sister, hysterically sobbing and telling him that their parents had gone missing and were nowhere to be found. Michael discovered that their parents had simply vanished into thin air as the cruise ship was sailing between Barbados and Aruba. He later told NBC Los Angeles, quote, "Both my parents' sandals, my mom's purse, and the book she was reading were found on the deck." The crew of the ship were notified of the couple's disappearance, but according to Michael, they waited 4 hours before calling the U.S. Coast Guard, by which time the ship had sailed many times from where his parents had disappeared. The crew of the Carnival Cruise Line, Destiny ship, were reluctant to act in the wake of their unsolved disappearance, and the U.S. and Dutch Coast Guards would search for just 13 hours before declaring that they were never found. FBI experts were likewise unable to locate Hugh Pham and Hugh Tran. The official explanation given to the Pham family is that Hugh Pham and Hugh Tran jumped off the cruise ship together, but the family insists that the two were happy and were planning on an upcoming trip to Vietnam. In the wake of his parents' unsolved disappearances, Michael founded International Cruise Victims to help others who experience the horrors of missing people at sea. On his website, he writes, quote, "Our remaining family members exited the ship among all other passengers. Since then, Carnival Cruise Lines has refused to accept our phone calls and requests for assistance. Anyone with information is asked to contact Michael at 818-355-6564. Number 3. The mysterious disappearances of Claude and Martha Sue Shelton have haunted the community of Corbin, Kentucky for over 51 years, and we are still no closer to solving their case than we were in 1971. 37-year-old Claude and 27-year-old Martha Sue lived as a working-class family in Gary's Trailer Park in Corbin, Kentucky, with their 3 children. Their scary true story occurred decades ago on May 21st, 1971. Claude and Martha Sue spent the night with friends at a small get-together. As the night wound down, everyone said their goodbyes, and the Sheltons headed back to their trailer. According to their missing person reports, Claude and Martha put their children to bed, kissing them goodbye for what would be the last time. As the children fell into a deep slumber, Claude and Martha Sue quietly exited the trailer and hopped into their white 1967 Ford Galaxy. This would be the last time that Claude and Martha Sue were ever seen before their mysterious disappearances. The Kentucky State Police received the missing person reports for Claude and Martha Sue soon after the children were found, but their parents missing. The first and only clue came from the oldest child, Sheila, who recalled hearing her parents whispering just before they left the trailer. Sheila hadn't quite fallen asleep and remembered her dad saying, quote, "Are you going with me or are you going to stay here?" Claude and Martha Sue had gone missing shortly after uttering those final words. The only thing missing from the trailer was $600, but investigators do not believe that the couple disappeared voluntarily. Claude and Martha Sue were described as loving, dedicated parents, and Martha Sue was even a stay-at-home mother. The only place that the two may have gone was to King's truck stop for some food, but it's unknown if this destination was ever reached. 51 years later, and the Shelton children are working on this unsolved mystery, searching for their parents who vanished without a trace one cool May night. Martha Sue Shelton is described as a white female with light brown hair, blue eyes, 5'2" to 5'4", and 125 to 135 pounds. Claude Shelton is described as a white male with brown hair and brown eyes, 5'6" and 170 pounds. The two were traveling in their white 1967 Ford Galaxy 500, with Kentucky license plate 937944. Anyone with information on their case is urged to contact the Kentucky State Police at 606-878-6622, quoting case number 11C14653. Number 4. 63-year-old Edward and 63-year-old Stephania Andrews enjoyed the finer things in life and were in the blissful years of their marriage before they went missing. The couple had good jobs, with Edward working as a manager and a bookkeeper, and Stephania working as a credit investigator. And by the end of 1970, they hoped to retire and start a new chapter in their lives. Despite being busy, the two people were never found missing from social events, and were well known within the Arlington Heights circle. What should have been a normal cocktail party in May of 1970 quickly descended into what is considered one of the most bizarre and unexplained mysteries in Chicago history. On May 15, 1970, Edward and Stephania donned their best clothes and headed out to a cocktail party at the Sheraton Chicago Hotel. The two intended to attend the party and rub shoulders with socialites and important members of the community before heading home. But that's not what happened on the night of their unsolved disappearances. According to those at the party, the pair were acting strangely, with Stephania crying and Edward reporting that he was hungry. As the clock struck 9:30 p.m., the two said their goodbyes and left the party. And at this time, Stephania was still crying, seemingly without reason. The Andrews made their way to the hotel's parking garage and got into their yellow 1969 Oldsmobile Sports Coupe. The parking attendant witnessed the two getting into the car, and as Edward revved the engine, a strange but true event occurred. In their missing person report, the parking attendant told crime detectives how Edward drove out of the parking lot, hitting the door on the way. The attendant watched as Edward unbelievably drove his 1969 Oldsmobile north in the southbound lane before disappearing into the distance, with Stefania crying all the while. For the rest of the night, the guests chatted about this strange mystery, not realizing the full significance of these unexplained events until much later. The days passed, and when both Edward and Stefania were still missing, people at their workplace knew something was very wrong. The Arlington Heights Police Department performed a welfare check and found no sign of the couple in the house. There was nothing out of place, and there were no signs of a struggle. It was as if the couple had simply vanished into thin air without a trace. Multiple searches were conducted, but the mysterious disappearances remain strangely unsolved. The Arlington Heights Police Department believes that Edward and Stefania's car somehow ended up in the Chicago River, though this theory has yet to be proven after many searches. Neither of the missing people have accessed their bank accounts or made contact with their family, and their strange but true case is still unsolved to this day. Stefania Andrews is described as a white female with graying brown hair, brown eyes, 5 foot to 5'9" and 100 to 170 pounds. Edward Andrews is described as a white male with gray hair and brown eyes, 5'11" to 6'3" and 190 pounds. The couple were last seen traveling in their Oldsmobile Sports Coupe with an Illinois license plate of BB9986. Anyone with information on their mysterious disappearance is asked to contact the Arlington Heights Police Department at 847-368-5360, quoting case number 7004301. Number 5. 36-year-old Camden Sylvia and 54-year-old Michael Sullivan vanished without a trace while living their dreams in Manhattan, New York. The couple had a loft on Pearl Street, which was in the perfect vicinity of art galleries and everything good that Manhattan has to offer. One brisk night in November of 1997 would change all of that and throw their families into one of New York's most mysterious disappearances. On November 7th, 1997, the day their missing person cases began, Camden and Michael headed out of their loft and went for a jog around the block of Pearl Street and Hanover Square. The two regularly jogged down these streets, and according to some sources, the two were headed to a local video store to rent a movie. Witnesses recall seeing the couple jogging down Pearl and Hanover one final time before they went missing and never were found. When days had passed without contact, Camden's mother began to worry that her daughter had gone missing. None of the neighbors in the building had seen or heard from the couple, and everyone became very concerned about their disappearances. Camden's mother visited her apartment and found nothing missing or otherwise out of the ordinary. Inside the apartment, she found the video they had rented, Michael's keys and wallet, 2 pairs of running shoes, and both passports. It was clear the two had made it back to the apartment, but Camden's mother quickly realized that her daughter's house keys and bag were missing. With fear and anxiety taking over, Camden's mother contacted the New York Police Department and officially reported the couple as a missing pair. Within hours, the loft apartment had become a crime scene and the hunt for the couple was on. Despite numerous searches, no sign of the couple has ever been found, and there's been no movement on their bank accounts or social security numbers. The only possible suspect in their mysterious disappearance is Robert Rodriguez, the landlord of the apartment block where they lived. At the time the couple went missing, they were having issues with Robert, who had told all of his tenants that he was raising the rent. Camden and Michael rallied the tenants of the building together to protest the price hike. Before the couple had vanished without a trace, Robert would threaten to turn the heating off in the building, and those in the building recalled that Camden, Michael, and Robert were getting into arguments about the rent. Some believe that Robert made Camden and Michael go missing so that he could replace them with new tenants, but no evidence was ever found to support these claims. Since 1997, their unsolved disappearances have remained in the precinct's cold case files. Camden's mother is desperate for her missing daughter to be found, and is appealing for anyone with information to come forward. Camden Sylvia is described as a white female with black hair, brown eyes, 5'4" to 5'7", and 125 pounds. Michael Sullivan is described as a white male with gray hair, blue eyes, 5'7" and 135 pounds. Anyone with information is asked to contact the New York City Police Department at 212-694-7781, quoting case number KNMP 08568.